Hi guys, Karis here, and happy spring equinox, new moon, and solar eclipse. Now is an excellent time to set intentions for what you want to be experiencing for the sunny parts of this year. So the part that you're going to be more blossoming outward and growing outward. For those of you in the southern hemisphere, you'll be doing the opposite. Now your nights are going to be longer than your days, so it's going to be a greater time for introspection, cocooning yourself and healing and deciding what you want to create the next time you're in the blossom time. Both of them are beautiful. The best thing to do is just navigate them and ride them. What I've experienced in this solar eclipse's energy is that it feels like a perfect reset time. So it feels like a time that you can clear out any of the old stuff you don't want to deal with anymore, that you feel like you've graduated from or that you want to graduate from, like dusting off your aura, and set the intention for things that you do want to experience and things that you want to just be kind of attracting into your reality. The way that you do this is by holding the mental image of what you want. This creates what's called a morphogenetic field, which is kind of like energy scaffolding. And then if you hold it and you keep that vision strong, molecules will start to attach to those fields that you're building, and then all of a sudden these amazing experiences will come to you, maybe or maybe not because of anything you're physically doing in the physical world. So yeah, sometimes you make things happen by making calls and sending out stuff and doing things, and sometimes you can also make it happen by holding that morphogenetic field and letting things attract to it. Of course, that also deals with what you're manifesting, why you're manifesting it, whether your energy is clear as you do or if you're coming from a place of fear, but I'm not even going to go into that right now, because what I'd like to talk about right now is what's happening overall. As an oracular type, which I tend to be, I've been noticing a lot of interesting things. For my experience, what happened in the middle of winter was I all of a sudden felt my purpose, I know that's subjective, but my reason, my motivation, and where my inspirations flow from, I felt it shift. It didn't come with a bunch of anger toward the old purpose. A lot of times that's what you have to do to free yourself of it. So I've noticed a lot of my peers in kind of the esoteric realms sometimes getting angry at what was going on, which is a fine way to do it. It really helps you break away. But that's not what I experienced. What I experienced was all of a sudden I just stopped caring if my words inspired anyone. And before, I was doing the actions and I was teaching things and I felt inspired to do it. I didn't really identify with the teacher-healer paradigm, because that will get you into trouble, because if you identify with a teacher-healer, either or both, then you have to keep manifesting a world full of people that need to be taught and need to be healed, which is a slippery slope. And when I recognized maybe about 3 years ago that I was manifesting that stuff because I felt really strongly that I was a healer, and so there kept being people around me that were sick, and I realized that that wasn't really kind to the things that I was creating in my universe, to keep manifesting stuff that wasn't thriving. So I let go of that, and I hadn't been identifying as much with that for the past few years, but I was still inspired to do that stuff, so I was still doing it because why not? And when I all of a sudden just stopped caring if that was coming through me, I've since been seeing a beautiful reflection that makes me feel so comfortable shifting, because what I'm seeing and noticing is that my soul group, my kindreds who I recognize and feel a multiple lensed purpose with, are saying and doing the exact things that I recognize as the same inspiration wave I was riding. Whereas before that wasn't happening, people had different areas, and now I'm seeing more people having the same area that I just had. So it feels fantastic, because I definitely am a proponent of the fact that if it doesn't come through someone, whatever it is, the inspiration, the motivation, whatever, the trigger words or whatever you want to say, energy, I guess, that can come through a lot of different ways. If it doesn't come through one person and it needs to come, it'll come through someone else. So there's no responsibility, there's no weight on our shoulders, because this is not a world that necessarily needs to be healed depending on what your belief structure is like. When you start to realize that you can create whatever you want, that's a beautiful thing, and then you play with it and see how it works. And then once you create the stuff that you want, what do you do? And that's kind of where I was. I didn't feel this passion to keep going forward anymore. I felt like, well, I have all the things that I wanted, and so now what do you do? And from the perspective of someone who was in this world that talks a lot about enlightenment, ascension, nirvana, whatever, this might sound a little harsh, but I'm not trying to be harsh. This is just how I felt, and I felt really passionate about this. once they reached that spot, once you can see source all the time, once you can feel it flowing through you all the time, and once you know that this stuff is not actually real any more than your thoughts and emotions and all the things in the other realms are real, then, well, what had been modeled for us was you just stare at source all day and you just kind of suck on the teat of the universe and are a baby about it and just keep drinking and doing what? You know, people would sit in the same spot and meditate for 20 years. Fantastic. That's beautiful. I'm glad that that happened. I know it's bringing important things, but I just wasn't attracted to it. I didn't want to experience that. It seemed boring to me. So now there's different games going on. Now that we're not trying to make things happen, you know how to make things happen, you have what you want, then what do you do once you get there? Well, then your mission changes. I think that's happening for a lot of people. The things that were motivating us aren't motivating us anymore because we got them. So now we're finding different reasons for motivation. And mine are still evolving. I'm still working on some new stuff. And it is definitely different. I've definitely withdrawn more. I'm enjoying my physical reality more than hopping on the virtual internet stuff so much, which, like I said, there's nothing in the world wrong with doing that. I just didn't jive with it as much anymore. I felt like doing a lot of online fasting, not going on and not participating in stuff, whereas before I'd felt really drawn to do that and I wanted to interact all the time. There's not anything wrong with interacting, like I've said, I just didn't want to. So now I'm working on some new stuff energetically. It's more about, for me, living in the moment and celebrating this delicious thing because, like we said, it's not real, it's all a hologram. So once you're in the hologram all the time, what people used to do was pop out of the body. Those civilizations that vanished, people that ascended and popped out. But this time we chose to keep our bodies. We chose to see what happens if we keep our physical world with us, and it's a new kind of game. So this summer, I think the thing to do now for all of us whose missions or entertainment, really, because it's a hologram, so it's not that intense, it's all a game, and it's all... none of it has to be that serious, is I guess what I'm saying. And some people might not agree with me, and that's fine. We all have our different ways of perceiving this universe. So for any of you whose missions have changed, I think that the thing to do this summer, as we're starting to fountain and blossom out stuff, is to navigate based on what is happening in the reality around you. So this means not even so much as what's going on, in my case, politically or on the grander scales and that kind of stuff, because that still is usually words on a screen or words in my ears, something like that, but to navigate what's going on in my actual physical world, because as everybody knows, it depends on what info people want to share as to what you're believing. So I'm not going to say who's right and who's wrong because honestly, I just don't really care. I know that what I experience in the world that I create is what I deal with at the moment. And so what this ends up feeling like is things that feel interesting, things that don't, things that make my emotions pay attention and come and draw me, things that I want to not really participate with. And it's also important to remember that if you are feeling a strong resistance to something, that's it calling you. Because if you feel a really strong emotion about anything, it's resonating with you. It's triggering some type of response in you, and you need to deal with it. But if it's just, meh, don't care, then you can navigate toward the things that do matter to you. So navigating based on the reality, based on what's actually going on, not only around you in the physical world, because this is the game that we're playing, but within you, with the rudder and the GPS that your emotions are giving you, and that your thoughts and your inspirations are giving you. And so maybe your mission is changing, maybe it's not, maybe it's the same thing, and that's beautiful too. But I'd really encourage anyone who wants my advice, you don't have to take it, but what seems to be working lately is checking in all the time and really shifting the way that I've been interacting with the universe. I feel a different kind of strength rising. I feel a different kind of kindredship showing up. Definitely different people are showing up in our worlds that are more aligned with what we've been looking for this whole time, and then they're all showing up, and all these brothers and sisters are here, and it's beautiful. And then, like I said, once we're here and we're not needing to go to a common goal anymore, there are no more battles to fight. If you're still fighting a battle, by the way, that's okay. I'm not saying you're doing anything wrong. I'm just saying in my experience, that's not what's happening. What we do instead then is play, is make the most beautiful things we can make, is have the most fun we can have and be the most delicious that we can be, and see what happens. And we're going to find out. It's going to keep growing. It never stops. It will keep evolving for you. You'll keep evolving. The things you do will change and shift, and things that are interesting to you will move. A lot of you guys, like I said, are probably experiencing this already. So happy equinox. Have fun in the summer. I will be around a little bit more, I think, and I did just start a new monthly Magic Book Club selection. I don't have it with me, it's in the house, but it's called Women Who Run with the Wolves, and that's a really good one. It's very deep. It's going to help bring up a lot of interesting stuff about the untamed wild woman, divine feminine, within each of us, men and women. We all have masculine pieces, we all have feminine pieces, but I'll talk more about that later. And there's some other stuff coming up and things. But anyway, I hope you're all doing very well. And if you're going through challenges, just batten down the hatches and wait through it. Navigate based on what your reality is showing you. It's becoming more obvious all the time that this is a dream, as much as dreams are dreams. It's just a waking dream during the day. And when you start to find where your buttons are, so if you're having a difficulty, notice when it ends. Because when it ends, you just found out something beautiful. And when you're having a difficulty, see where you might be incongruent with what you're feeling is true on the inside and what you're emoting or acting like or interacting with or observing on the outside, and try to bring it back to congruence with whatever you choose to cultivate inside and which is coming through you, and you'll see your reality shifting to match what you're doing. So blessings to you. Keep evolving, keep plugging along. All of you are beautiful. We're all beautiful in our own ways, and I appreciate each of your flowers adorning this planet. Go in peace, and I will see you guys up there on the astral.